As Bluetits, we love the water. It's our common passion. When it comes to safety, learning everything we can about the body of water we are about to enter really helps. So let's have a little tit chat about all the things that we can do to prevent drowning should we ever find ourselves in that tricky situation. Liv?
Yes.
Do you know how to float to live?
No.
There are several things you can do before you get in the water. Check the weather. Is the wind offshore or onshore? Check the tide. Is the tide coming in or is the tide going out? Look out for rips. If you don't know what a rip looks like, ask somebody who does, like a lifeguard. Look at the waves that are in front of you. Are you, at the level you are now in your swimming, able to cope with the wave that's in front of you? Go swimming with a friend, go swimming with a group, and always tell somebody where you're swimming and what time you expect to be home. So there's always a chance you can find yourself in trouble. So having the tools to know what to do are just invaluable. So we've got Jemima here, who is an outdoor guide with TYF, and we've got Liv here, who tells me that she doesn't know how to float to live.
Yeah.
So today, Liv is going to learn how to float to live. Aren't you, Liv? Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Should we get in the water?
Yeah.
Crack in. Well done, Liv. I think you did really well.
Thank you.
And you know, you were genuinely scared, weren't you, going in?
Yeah, it was really scary.
And so now you know that you're not 100% comfortable doing it, but you now at least know that you can do it should you ever get into that kind of trouble.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm off to Newport now to meet Tirion, who is an RNLI lifeguard in Ceredigion, and I'm going to get their take on all of this. Hello Tirion, Shwmai.
Hiya, nice
Sut
to
ydych
meet
chi?
you. Good, thank you.
Now, tell me, what are the most common situations that people find themselves in trouble in the water?
So I'd say one of the most common situations we see on the beach is people getting stuck in rip currents. So you can often kind of see a rip current where there's a stillness to the water or a break in the wave, and often people can get swept out to sea in them. So that's definitely one of the biggest dangers we see where people get into difficulty.
But this is why you lifeguards put flags up, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is also why the flags move throughout the day. You're picking the spot that doesn't have the rip current. So you're saying to the public, swim here because we have checked this bit. And then throughout the day you monitor it and move the flags, is that correct?
Precisely. So in the morning we'll evaluate where the best place for our red and yellow flags are, and that's the area the lifeguards monitor all day, so that's where we'll say is the safest place to swim.
Do you only save people if they're between the flags?
No, we will save people outside of the flags, but our red and yellow flags take our priority, so that's the area that we'll patrol and keep a closest eye on throughout the day.
So you come along with your family for the day,
Yeah.
You swim between the flags, you know that the lifeguards have chosen that spot because it is the safest and they are really keeping an eye out on that spot.
Yes, exactly. So if there's people swimming in between the red and yellow flags, you'll have a lifeguard there always monitoring you and watching you, and they've identified it as the safest place on the day.
Now you've got different colour flags, so you've got your red and yellow flags, you've got your black flags.
Black and white checkered flags,
Black and white checkered flags.
So our black and white checkered flags is where we ask hard craft to go, so kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, surfboards, anything that kind of could cause danger if it hit a swimmer. So we just do that to keep them separate so that our swimmers are apart from our surfers.
And there's another flag, isn't there? A red flag? Is it a
Yes.
solid red flag?
So yeah, our solid red flag is our flag for danger. So if there is a rip current in the water, we quite often will put a red flag in front of that rip current so that you know not to go in the water there.
Now the sea can be deceiving. So what are the key things that people should consider or watch out for before they get in the water?
So before they get in the water, they should really think about the weather that day, the conditions. So have a little look at the surf forecast, see what the waves are forecast to do that day, and particularly look at the wind. If there's quite an offshore wind, then it's easy for you to get carried out to sea. So it's making sure that you're aware of those conditions.
So offshore is literally that. Offshore is the wind is going off the shore, onshore is the wind is coming into the beach then.
Yeah, literally that. So we quite often say if you look at our flags when it's offshore, they are blowing out to sea. So you can see that the wind is going to carry you out.
So now then, if you do get into trouble, what would be your advice?
So my advice would be, if you start to get into trouble, to stay really calm, try and slow your breathing, and we advise that you float on your back. So if you just gently lean back in the water and just start to move your hands and feet just to get that motion, making a starfish shape, and that allows you just that time to kind of think, calm your breathing, and acclimatise to the water that you're in. And then when you're nice and calm, you're then able to call for help in any way that you can.
Now this all sounds wonderful, and in theory I think this works, but in practice it's one of these things that I'm interested in. So say you are caught by a rip and you're moving somewhere where you don't want to go at quite a speed. A human natural reaction, I think, is like, help, and all of this kind of stuff going on. So to actually turn and float is a massive thing to do, isn't it? Because it isn't a natural position to be in either, on your back, and say it's a bit wavy and there's water coming over you and you know, there's all of this kind of stuff going on. So I think it's one of those things that people need to really try to practice when everything is fine and there's no problem. They need to give that a go, to go on their back, because I meet a lot of people who say, I can't do it. And then the other thing to this is, when you say float on your back, it's really a moment where you're just giving yourself that time to think, aren't you? So it's a kind of float to think initially. So think, calm. And then now, right, I'm alive, everything's okay. Now what do I do next? So it's that moment to give you that break. But how do you then call for help?
So once you're fully calm, so once you're floating, you really want to calm that breathing down, because that's what's causing that panic. And from there, the best way is to use your voice, or possibly raise one hand if you feel comfortable to do so in the conditions you are, to try and get someone's attention.
So that's what you're looking out for, is for people who get into trouble, and then, I mean, you'll have probably spotted them because that's your job. But if they're lying on their back, they're floating, and they put their hand in the air, that's basically saying...
Definitely, that alerts us to the fact that someone's in difficulty and they need assistance. So that just allows us to know exactly that we need to go out and where to go to.
So float to think, calm your breathing, and then you're alive, everything's fine, put your hand up in the air and you will be rescued.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, thank you. If you are a sea swimmer or you're off to swim in the sea, enjoy learning about how the weather, tides, currents, rip currents, waves, and floating on your back can enhance your sea swimming experience and give you the knowledge to make an informed decision as to whether you should swim or not to swim, and also what to do if you should find yourself in a tricky situation. And one last seemingly obvious thing: know where you are swimming. At the very least, know the name of the beach you are swimming at, but preferably, if you know the GPS location or the what 3-word location, you are giving the emergency services that much needed detail to find you should they need to, especially if you are on a massive beach. Above all, please go out there and enjoy your swim. Remember, don't be a tit, be a blue tit.